Hi, my name is Shane. I use she and her pronouns, and this is a game of Trophy Gold, Jesse Ross's dark fantasy game about desperate treasure hunters. Today, as we record, is cross quarter day, halfway between the equinox and the solstice. Some of our players are in the southern hemisphere and some are in the northern hemisphere, so I'm being deliberately vague about exactly which equinox and solstice we're talking about. But regardless, this is a time when the veils between worlds are thin and we reach out to touch other realms. So I think an auspicious day to begin our exploration of the mysterious and deadly world of the Old Kaldor. This game was organised as part of the Gauntlet gaming calendar. We play lots of games at the Gauntlet and we talk about lots of games, especially indie games, story games, and OSR games. If you'd like to find out more about the Gauntlet, or even better, come and play with us, check out check out gauntlet-rpg.com. I'll put a link in the YouTube comment bit. And if you're interested in playing with us, we also have a Gauntlet Community Open Gaming Weekend at the end of June, which will be a whole bunch of free one-shot or two-shot games and a great opportunity to come and try out a game with us if you're interested. Just wanted to say that part of the reason that I decided to run Trophy Gold is because recently I've been running a lot of games that have very little or no combat or violence, lots of cozy games, lots of comedy games, things like that. Having a great time, but just realized I was really missing swinging swords and rolling dice for violence and things like that. So that's why I am here today. Going to ask the players to introduce themselves now. I'll go around the order that I can see on my screen, and would just like you to tell us your name, your pronouns, anything else that you'd like to tell us about yourself, and it'll help me just in sort of introing the game if you tell us whether you've played Trophy Gold before or if you know the system sort of otherwise. So, Blake, do you want to go first?
G'day, my name's Blake, he, him. I've been playing with the Gauntlet for about 3 years. I love the cooperative storytelling that most of the games have. I have played about 4 sessions of Trophy Gold and like 2 of Trophy Dark, which is more tragic. But yeah, looking forward to getting some regular fantasy genre stuff on.
Great. Romy?
Hi, I'm Romy, they, them. I'm broadcasting from the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe people. I'm very new to this. I've never done anything like this before, and I love to be terrified, so excited.
Excellent. Richard?
Yeah, I'm Richard. I'm here in sunny Northern California. I've been on the Gauntlet for almost 2 years, and I played a couple of sessions of Trophy Dark, but I've never played Gold, so I'm looking forward to trying this out.
Great. And sorry, your display name is Machinic. Is that what I should call you?
Yeah, that's a Machinic on the Gauntlet. He, him pronouns. I'm Gerald in real life. You did a great job pronouncing Machinic. And yeah, I think this is maybe my 3rd Gauntlet game, and this is going to be my 2nd with Trophy.
Cool. All right. Great. So I'm just going to start with a CATS procedure for concept, aim, tone, and subject matter, just to sort of set some expectations and talk a bit about boundaries and safety tools. Feel free to stop me if you have any questions. So concept, I think we're all clear about this, but Trophy Gold is a sort of dark fantasy game about desperate treasure hunters with one overwhelming drive that they will risk everything for. We'll talk, I guess, more about the concept when we get to some rule stuff, but it'll kind of unfold in play. Aim, today we're going to finish up this CATS quite quickly and organise some lines and veils. Then we'll make characters, which also won't take very long. It's a pretty simple process, and we will plunge into our first incursion. I'll be looking to take short breaks, roughly on the hour. And for the series, we have, I think, 4 sessions. What I'm hoping is that we'll get through 2 incursions, which is what Trophy Gold calls adventures. There's a kind of downtime procedure called half fire that I want to run between those incursions. But that said, how much material we get through will really just be determined by the pace that we all collectively establish. I'm perfectly happy if we get through 3 incursions in the series, or, conversely, if we just take our time and work through one nice and slow, that would be great as well. Tone-wise, this is a fantasy game that is kind of borderline a horror game, both in the sense that it's about desperate characters facing terrible danger, but also in the sense of being at least potentially very weird and grotesque. Certainly there is room for humor and levity. I think that I've personally found this to be a very funny game, but certainly not a comedy game. Overall, it's relatively serious. Subject matter, again, borderline a horror game. There will be violence, potentially gore and body horror. The incursion we're running today, Hesters Mill, includes references to human and animal sacrifice and themes and imagery of fertility and birth. So we're going to use 3 safety tools today and throughout the series. The first of those is the X card. So if anything comes up in the game that's not good for you, not fun, you can just say X, say that you want to X card it, type an X in the chat, make an X with your hands, any way that you want to signal that. We'll just take that content out. It's no problem. We'll keep going. We're also using the open door, which is to say anytime that you need to leave, you are welcome to just leave. That can be for a short break, for any reason, or because you're just leaving and not coming back. It's totally fine if the game's not for you. The third, excuse me, the third safety tool that we'll be using is lines and veils. And this is basically a way to organize the content that we want to sort of limit in the game. A line is a subject or a topic that we just aren't going to include in the game at all. It won't come up. Veil is something that it may happen in the story of the game, but it's not something that we're going to focus on or describe in detail. We're just going to sort of skip over it quickly or fade to black. So if I could get you all to open up the character keeper if you haven't already. The second tab, intro and safety. Well, maybe I should have looked at this before we started the game. Includes, if you scroll down a bit, you'll see that there's a section for lines and veils. And as well as an ask first column for things that are okay in the game, but that you'd like us to ask you about before we go into them. Just going to take a minute now for people to mark anything that they'd like to as a line or a veil. And when you're done with that, if you could just put an OK in the chat so that I know that we're ready to continue. All right, so I'm just going to read through the list that we've got so that everyone's on the same page. So we have lines on children. Sorry, I'm just going to ask some clarity here. You never need to explain why you've lined or veiled something, but I just want to be clear about what we're talking about. I'm more familiar with something like this being expressed as harm to children. Is that what the line's about, or are we saying?
Yes, that's what I put it there for.
I thought that was the case. I just wanted to make sure. So lines on harm to children, eye injuries. Oh, we also have harm to children. Homophobia and transphobia, racism, sexual assault or sexual violence. Those are our lines, so things that we won't include in the game at all. We have veils on harm to pets and domestic animals, sexual content, slavery, suicide, and torture. Obviously, these are not set in stone. This isn't a fixed list. If something comes up in the game or you think of something later that you would have liked to include, you can always add it to the list of lines and veils. We can revisit that at the start of the session or if we need to. The other thing about that, about these things not being set in stone, that to emphasize is that even if something was okay once or twice, if something's come up in the game and you've let it go, that doesn't mean that you have to continue to let it go if it starts to bother you. If something was okay, but it's now becoming less fun, it's totally fine to X-card that or to make it a line or veil. The other thing that I like to say about safety is that it's a collective responsibility. It's something that we're all going to pay attention to. So if you notice that we're getting close to something or something seems to be coming up that is close to something that's a line or a veil, it's always good to check in about that. It might have slipped my mind. I'll do my best to respect those things, but it's easy to kind of get caught up in the moment. In particular, just in terms of you supporting the safety tools, if somebody makes a visual X, like either types the X or makes it with their hands, often I'm not going to be watching the stream while I'm running the game. So if you notice that somebody's done that, please verbalize it for me so that I know that that's happened. I think that's everything that I have by way of my sort of introductory spiel before we make characters. Are there any questions about any of that? Anything anyone wants to add? All right, great. I realise that my pink galah mug may be somewhat undermining the dark and menacing tone that I'm trying to create. You'll just have to bear with me. So this character keeper, I think, is pretty amazing. It's going to mostly walk you through creating your character. Drew, who also plays on the Gauntlet, made it and did just a phenomenal job. Just want to explain a little about some of the main choices that you're going to be making just for people who are new to Trophy Gold. Your character is going to have an occupation and a background, and each of those will give you a set of skills that contribute dice to the dice pools when you're rolling in the game. It's okay if more than one of you has the same background or occupation, but it's probably better that you avoid it. It's generally better to avoid sort of doubling up to spread the skills as much as you can. But it's not going to be a game breaker if you do decide that you both want to be a leech or something like that. You're going to choose a drive. This is the goal that you have that drives you to risk your mind and body in the search for treasure. You'll see that the drives that you can choose from are very open-ended, and there's a lot for you to define about the game world. So what's an example? I look at character options. The first drive there is to acquire the gleaming cache before it's too late. Players often say, well, what's the gleaming cache? Well, that's for you to decide and define during the game. The other two things that you're going to choose sort of relate to some scores that you need to understand. So you have a score called your burden, which starts at 1. When you make your character, every piece of combat equipment that you choose will increase your burden by 1. That can include weapons, which will allow you to participate in the combat roles in the game, as well as armor. And each piece of armor that you take will let you negate the damage or the ruin from 1 dice roll in the game. The drawback of a higher burden is when you get back to town at the end of the incursion, you must have enough gold to cover your burdens. 1 gold for each point of your burden. If you don't, your character will be thrown into debtor's prison or, murdered by debt collectors. They will, in some way, no longer be able to continue with the game. The other set of scores and sort of things that you can choose are your ruin, which also starts at 1. Ruin represents all kinds of physical and mental harm that you can suffer during the game. And if it ever reaches 6, again, your character either dies or is otherwise unable to continue as an adventurer. You can choose to start the game with up to 3 rituals, which is, basically just spells, things that you can do that are magical. But for each ritual that you start the game with, your starting ruin will increase by 1 as well, and obviously that brings you closer to death or destruction. So I think that's sort of all the info that you need to work through that character keeper and make your characters. But yeah, feel free to ask any questions that you have as you go, and talk to each other about what you're thinking and what sort of character you might be making.
I can tell you I've made a former sellsword, so if people are worried about if there's a warrior Yes, the party has one. So yeah, we're not going to be just a bunch of librarians running around in a dungeon. That's happened before and it didn't go well.
Funny you should
so
mention, because I am playing a librarian running around in a dungeon. So,
excellent. But yeah, I'll be the first to die. That's all right.
Well, if it makes you feel better, everyone will be in terrible danger at all times. So it's not, you won't necessarily be the first to die. Looks like everyone's characters are ready. Is that right?
yeah, I think so.
Cool. So we'll just go left to right across the character keeper, and I'll get you to introduce your characters. Obviously, their name and pronouns, but just like briefly their occupation and background, the things they're skilled in. I guess tell us about what combat equipment and any rituals that you've chosen. So first up, Gerald, can you tell us about Mahera?
Sure. Yeah, Mahera, his pronouns are he, him. He was a farmer, and his crops were spoiled, and through something, and we'll find out. And he turned his love of the land into hunting and foraging. So now his occupation is a ranger, basically. So that means from a skill perspective, he knows plants from the farming and beast hunting traps from kind of what he does now to survive. I did take a ritual, burrow, move through the ground. So he's feeling really earthy to me. And yet, for some reason, I think because it was a ranger, I took a bow for a weapon. So, but backpack equipment, I don't know. I just rolled the dice on that one. So I got some random backpack stuff. But combat-wise, it's just, I don't know. I think I had that D&D cartoon from the 80s in my mind. It's like a studded leather bow and arrows. It's like the typical ranger. So, yeah, that's Mahera.
Perfect. And what's his drive?
Oh, yes. His drive, I also rolled the dice on that one, too. Bring freedom to Tyrolis.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll find out more about that.
Yeah.
So next we have Parda. Tell us about Parda.
All right. Parda uses she, her pronouns. And Parda's a smuggler, particularly a book smuggler, who was expelled from the Lyceum for stealing books from the library and selling them. And so that's kind of her deal. She had her rituals are she went a little heavier on the ruin with Parse and Mask. So kind of a stealthy character with a little bit of an academic back flavor. And yeah, just kind of out for revenge on those who kept her out of the library.
Cool. Does Parda have any combat equipment?
Yeah, she has. Well, what is really ultimately a letter opener, but it functions as a stiletto and an old male shirt.
Nice. Great. And Blake, tell us about Talia.
Okay, Talia was an inquisitor for a heretical cult. Or tax collector, you might say. I'm thinking the normal churches sort of give all your money to us and you should live humbly in that. And her sect was like, no, we want jewelry, we want fancy clothes, we want to live nice, we want to have parties and stuff. And they probably targeted the old church to get the money for their parties and stuff. And now she's a sellsword, so she's the warrior. She's
Cool.
Her ritual is silence, which is probably some sort of weapon card or something, I think, to initiate that. And she's got breastplate and sword. The breastplate probably looks like the outfit I've found a picture of.
Nice. And what's her drive?
Establish a estate in the Lavasti countryside. So she wants to retire and have a nice manor and that. So she's after gold and lots of it.
Yeah, smart. Well, and Romy, tell us about Revel. How do you want to say
Revel?
it? Revel.
I think Revel. Revel uses they them pronouns. They're a magician, an expelled apprentice, actually. I think we have a few issues with authority we're not working on. With a drive to become part of the swirling courts.
Oh,
Revel
nice.
is very skilled in performance, rituals, trickery, and lore. And I've got the ritual inhabit.
Nice. So how are we going for time? All right, we'll start playing for a bit. Sorry, just having a little laptop problem. All right. So let me tell you what you know about Hesters Mill. Over a century ago, Torrens Bend, the region that you're in now, was ruled by a usurper named Lord Goldrin. Lord Goldrin was himself a heretic and routinely defied the teachings of the sisters, which are the kind of the saints or religious, quasi-deities of the setting, going so far as to mock Hester, the saint of the harvest and the most revered figure in all of Torrens Bend. The people of Hesters Mill, said in the histories to be extreme religious fanatics, rose up against Lord Goldrin and overthrew him, burning down his keep and murdering his soldiers. But the sisters, and Saint Hester in particular, were so appalled by the brutality of the people of Hesters Mill, they laid a curse upon all of Torrens Bend, which caused the land to go fallow and the village of Hesters Mill to wither away. Torrens Bend eventually recovered, but the lands have remained uninhabited because people are too superstitious to repopulate them, and the area is now just completely overgrown. But you already know each other, you're working together, you've agreed to go on this expedition together. You believe that Hesters Mill and its surrounds contain abandoned valuables that can be sold to merchants and antiquarians and bring all of you that bit closer to your drives. So we're going to start out at Torrens Bend. The way that Trophy Gold works is that it's divided into sets, which are sort of bits of play, and each set has a set goal, which I will tell you as you enter the set. Sometimes the set goals are things that you must accomplish to continue. Other times the set goals are more sort of optional. We'll talk more about the set goals and how they work as we get into play, but your set goal for the Torrens Bend is to find the road to Hesters Mill. So just kind of keep that in mind. This is one where you will need to accomplish the set goal in order to proceed. So the region known as Torrens Bend is so named because its northern border is a semicircular bend in the titanic Torren River, and it's almost entirely uninhabited, despite the fact that it's actually some of the most arable land on the continent. There are formerly bustling roads that are now just long overgrown. The area hasn't been reliably mapped in decades. And I guess as you arrive, you see the sun hanging high in the sky, golden and hot. You see a wild patch of fat, round pumpkins, gold and orange and green and purple. You see, I think in the distance, a bit further down, you can see what looks like the ruins of some sort of old keep. And maybe amongst the overgrowth, you can also see a statue standing a little further down. Talia, as the sellsword, the most, perhaps the boldest. Well, I should assume that. But I imagine you have strong ideas about how to proceed in a situation like this. What do you do?
Oh, yeah. Just so keep alert. There might be bandits. And I'll wander up to the statue with my sword out.
All right. I'll just ask everyone else what they're doing as well. Revel, are you going to go with Talia, or is there something else that you'd like to do?
Revel, I think, is a little more out of it, probably wandering around the pumpkins, but would follow because they don't want to fall too far from the crowd. All
right. What about Mahera?
Yeah, I'm gonna be going up with Talia towards the statues.
Okay. And Parda, are you joining everyone else?
Parda is consulting a wildly out of date map of the area and trying to connect it to what she's seeing now and not having a lot of success with it.
Okay. Well, I think that may call for a hunt roll.
Okay.
So, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, so a hunt roll represents, attempts to understand the world, to figure out where things are or how the world works. So take one light-colored. Oh, sorry, I should ask: has everyone got their Discord invite working? Everyone's got access to the dice channel in the Discord. Cool. So, sorry, I'm having persistent laptop trouble today. Yeah. So take one light-colored die just for exploring the world and asking the GM questions about it, and take another light die if you have a skill or piece of equipment that would make your hunt easier. So I think in this case, you have some sort of a map. So I think we'll allow that's equipment that will make it easier. So a hunt roll with 2 light dice. If you're in the dice channel, if you click on the pin at the top near the right, that'll give you the different commands that the bot uses for the dice rolls. So I think it's /hunt2.
Gotcha. Doing it right now.
Great.
Okay.
All right. So, as you can see, on a roll of 4, you do encounter something terrible, but you also take 1 token. So, just want to explain hunt tokens a bit here. Hunt tokens are a sort of abstract game currency. You can collect as many of them as you want, and there are 2 things that you can spend them for. You can spend your hunt tokens 1 for 1 to find gold. Gold here is kind of an abstract representation of wealth. So, 1 gold could be a gold piece, but it could also be a painting or a valuable antique or anything else. The other thing that you can do, either individually or collectively, is spend 3 hunt tokens to achieve the set goal. So if the group wants to pool 3 tokens and spend them, then you will just immediately achieve the goal of the set. Obviously, the reason that you may want to do that is because exploring the set can be extremely dangerous. So you may want to short-circuit that process. Okay, but you also encounter something terrible. I think that what you notice is that so you're looking at this map, you're looking around, you're trying to kind of orient yourself. You don't see, the map doesn't seem to correspond to the territory. Like, you just can't make heads nor tails out of it in that sense. But you do notice that something is moving in the long grass down towards the statue that your companions have just headed towards. You can't really make out what it is. It looks like it could be sort of humanoid size and shape, but too obscured by the long grass to really make out what it is. Talia, you're heading on up towards this statue. What do you do as you approach it?
What is it a statue of?
Yeah, so it's hard to say. It's a statue of a person. It looks similar to some of the statues of St. Hester that you've seen before, or the ways that you've seen St. Hester represented. But it's not St. Hester. You're not really sure who it is.
Okay.
They have, arms crossed over the chest, holding a sickle in one hand and a sword in the other. Typically, statues of St. Hester have a cornucopia rather than a sword.
I think I'll just look around the area, see if there's like any wagon tracks, or I can see something's been pushed over. Just general disturbance while I'm looking around the area.
Yeah. So that'll be a hunt roll as well. So, do you have any So it's 1 light die for just exploring the world. Another light die if you have a skill or piece of equipment that would make it easier.
Not really. That's right.
All right. So just 1/hunt 1. Uh-oh. Well,
Bring it on.
luckily you have no tokens to lose, so that's something. But yeah, I think that you see the same thing that Parda saw from further up the hill. You see that there is some sort of a figure rustling around in the overgrowth.
I walk towards it with the sword out. It's like, who goes there?
Yeah,
I'm drawing the aggro.
All right. It's definitely moving towards you as well, but you still can't quite see it well. Maybe you see these kind of yellow feral eyes glinting through the long grass, but we'll just come back to you in a sec. Revel and Mahera, you both see that Talia seems to have seen something. I guess, now that she's moving that way, you can see that there's something moving through the long grass as well. What will you do?
Revel thinks that Talia's got that pretty much handled, so I'm going to be checking out if there's any offerings laid around the statue before I even bother with that.
Great. What about Mahera?
Mahera is going to draw his bow and knock the arrow and just basically back up Talia, but not. I'm not going to take the shot before Talia has a chance to do anything or anything like that. I'm interested in the beast, in the eyes. That what I'm seeing. I'm trying to also sort of study and identify it while I'm waiting.
Okay. So Revel, we'll just get you to make a hunt roll as well for exploring the statue. So 1 light die just for exploring the world, and a 2nd light die if you have any equipment or skills that would make it easier.
All right.
Oh dear. The rolls today are
All right.
absolute garbage, to be honest. I've never seen so many 1s in a row in all my life. So you don't find any offerings, and that's partly because you're distracted by this beast that sort of lurches out of the long grass into a bit of more sort of flattened, spacious area right in front of Talia. It looks like a kind of emaciated humanoid. It has razor-sharp teeth and claw-like hands and feet, as well as those yellow eyes that you saw earlier. And it smells terrible. It stinks of the grave. There's no doubt that this is a dead thing one way or another. So I'm going to treat this as a combat for Mahera and Talia. Parda and Revel, if you want to get in on this, you're welcome to. Well, maybe that's the first question. Will Parda jump in? Sorry, you're muted.
Sorry, I had to navigate over to that. No, Parda is in fact using her mask ritual to observe this without being drawn in.
Okay, so what does the mask ritual do?
It allows me to cover my face and stay still to remove myself from others' senses.
Nice. Okay, I think that will just work. I won't make you roll for it this time. And it sounds like Revel is not going to jump into this fray. Is that right?
How far away are the pumpkins?
Just a little bit further back up the hill.
Revel's going to go grab one because having any kind of weapon would imply foresight. So I think pumpkin at the ready. A good decent size for bludgeoning.
All right. So we're going to have a combat roll then, just for Mahera and Talia. Just to read the description of the combat roll. Woe to the treasure hunters who find themselves face to face with a vengeful monstrosity and with no recourse but to swing steel against it. When you attempt to defeat a monstrosity, first say how you expose yourself to injury or attack, then roll a single light die. So, how does Talia expose herself to injury in this moment?
Well, she's at the front. She's in melee combat, just charging straight in. So if it's got, well, I think it has got vicious claws or whatever. So yeah, she's going to cop it. She doesn't have a shield, so
yeah. And what about Mahera?
Yeah, so Mahera is standing a little further back, with the bow, could either be a lunge, or perhaps a lunge by the monstrosity, or perhaps the way that Talia moves in forces me to move forward, and so now I'm within striking distance, I think, is a good way that could be exposed.
So now you each need to roll a single light die to find out your weak point that represents the risk you're taking in facing the monster. So that's just / weak. Of course it is.
wow.
So, Revel, are you participating in the combat with your pumpkin?
I think more drawing attention than anything. Like, look at me! Making like an opening for the others.
Okay. So, well, I think that then before we get to the combat, because I don't really think that's a combat action, but it potentially is a risk roll.
Okay.
So you're trying to draw the attention of the monstrosity to sort of weaken it, to make it easier for your friends to defeat it, your companions.
Yeah.
So when you attempt a risky task, say what you hope will happen. And I understand that what you're hoping is that you'll distract the monster. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and if it gets anywhere near me, I'm smashing a pumpkin on its head.
Okay. And ask the GM and the other players what could possibly go wrong. So just going to go around. Does anyone have any thoughts as to what could possibly go wrong here? Blake?
I think there's like debris or overgrown weeds and stuff on the ground. So maybe she could trip or like forwards or backwards or whatever, and then she's obviously exposed to the they're exposed to the ghoul or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Gerald?
Well,
like if you don't, it's fine to just say.
Yeah.
You don't have anything. That's fine.
Pass.
Yeah. Richard? You're muted again.
Perpetually going to be doing that. Because I'm always on another tab. So I think that like for whatever unknown reason, this enemy is protective of these pumpkins and is like driven into a rage by this poaching.
I love it. Okay, I think that's a good selection of things that could possibly go wrong. So now you're going to build your dice pool. Take one light-colored die if the task is something you are skilled at because of your occupation, background, or training, or because you're taking advantage of a piece of equipment or the environment. So that's clearly a dice for taking advantage of the environment.
All right.
They've got trickery. Would the trickery help?
Yeah.
It is
so you only get one dice total for all of those things. So yeah, trickery would have been enough, or the pumpkin is enough. Any one of these things will get you that dice. Take another light die for accepting a devil's bargain from another player or the GM. So a devil's bargain is something bad, or at least interesting, generally bad, that will happen regardless of whether you succeed or fail. So I'm going to go around again and I just ask the players if you have any suggestions for a devil's bargain. Just remembering this can't undermine the success, but it also can't, guarantee the success. It has to be something that can happen regardless of whether you succeed or fail. Richard, do you want to suggest any devil's bargains here?
Well, I mean, playing off of what I suggested before, I think that it's like if you take the devil's bargain, you're gonna be the focus of this creature's wrath.
Gerald, any devil's bargains?
The pumpkin is, I think, held aloft, and regardless of whether or not you're successful, some of the pumpkin gets on you in a way that is inhibiting until you can get it off.
Blake?
No, not at the minute.
All right. Yeah, I think I'm tempted to offer the devil's bargain that something hatches from the pumpkin while you hold it over your head. Would you like to accept? You have a free choice here. You can accept or any of those or reject them all. But you can
That
only
makes
accept
it
one.
so tempting. And accepting the devil's bargain doesn't give any change to the dice, or?
Yeah, so you get one extra light die for accepting a devil's bargain.
You know, that's too good. I have to. I
Okay,
gotta know
so
what's gonna hatch.
Which one that it's going to hatch?
The hatching.
Okay. And then add a dark-colored die if you're willing to risk your mind or body in order to succeed. So my like hot tip for this game is there's generally no reason to do that at first, because if you fail your roll, you have the opportunity to add a dark die and then roll it. Sometimes if the circumstances make it clear that you are risking your mind and body, then I'll tell you that you need to take the dark die. But generally, unless you really feel that that's where the fiction is taking you, there's no reason to do it. All right, so that is a risk roll with 2 light die.
Wasn't it 3?
No, it's just 2. The most light dies you can have for a risk roll is 2.
Oh, okay.
So it's 1 for using skills and environment, and 1 for
Oh,
taking.
I'm sorry. I
devil's
thought we
bargain.
started from a base of 1.
No,
mistake.
not for the risk roll. For the hunt
Okay.
roll you do, but not for this.
Okay, thanks.
That's okay. So, oh, nice! You've rolled a 6.
I'm a being of extremes.
You really are. If your highest roll is a 6, you succeed. Describe how.
Oh, Revel has a pumpkin above their head. They are running through this patch. They are screaming their head off. Just obscenities, insulting this thing's mother and father and grandparents and ancestors. It's a mess.
Nice. So the basically the way combat works in this game is that each monster that you fight has an endurance score. For this, I think that your distraction will reduce its endurance score by 1. So it's going to be that bit easier for your companions to defeat it. But more specifically, the way combat works is that each treasure hunter, we're going to gather a dark die for each treasure hunter involved in the attack, and then roll all the dark dice together. And we're looking for the total to be higher than the monster's endurance, which will always be a number between 2 and 12. So either of the two of you who are involved in the combat can roll it, but it's just /combat 2. Who wants to take the first combat roll?
He's feeling lucky.
You want to do it? I'm not. I'm rolling terrible today.
I was going to offer anyways, but I've seen the rolls. Okay, I'll go ahead.
Oh, nice!
Wow.
Yeah. The dice momentum has really turned around here. So neither of you. So if the dice had equaled if either of the dice had equaled your weak point, you would have taken a point of ruin. But that's not the case. You now get to describe how you defeat the monster, how you kill it. So I think I'll ask Talia first, like how you fight the monster, and then I'll ask how Mahera kills it. So Talia, what does this look like?
No, I was kind of running at it and do the sword from sort of the side of the neck to the underarm, just big slice, and
Yep. And then Mahera, how do you finish it off?
Yeah, I had the bow, and then I just release an arrow and shoot cleanly what hatches out of the pumpkin.
We'll talk about that after we take a break, I think. So let's take our first break here. This does seem like a good time. There is a ominous cracking sound above Revel's head, and yeah, we'll come back about 7 minutes past the hour, if that's good for everyone.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, he's back now.
Yeah, I've been grappling with my cable company for 3 weeks over my internet connection. So it was supposed to be fixed.
I mean, it seems to be working reasonably well. I don't
Yeah,
want to
not
jinx
too
it.
bad.
Yeah. All right. Is everyone good to continue? All right. So, Parda, I just want to check in with you before we get back to whatever is hatching. You had kind of hidden yourself away to observe this scene. Do you want to just keep watching, or what would you like? What are you doing?
Yeah, what I mean, like I guess well, I mean, it's not clear from the description of the ritual whether I have to cover whether I can see while I'm doing this.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I'm happy for you to decide what the answer to that is.
I think I can kind of like maybe peek through my fingers, like you know, a kid at a scary movie. But and so yeah, I'm like just as I'm about to like, you know, let my guard down, I see this thing and I'm horrified watching as this hatching goes on.
All right. So, Revel, what you see, or what you feel really, is a snake had laid a clutch of eggs inside the pumpkin that you happened to hold up. And this is the moment that they all begin to hatch. The eggs, like a few of these kind of slimy serpent eggs, fall down and just break on you, but mostly it's the newborn snakes themselves that are raining down from the pumpkin. A dozen, maybe 2 dozen. Some of them probably slipping inside your clothes, others, squirming across your face. Some just fall to the ground, What do you do?
I think, Revel, I am laughing like a hyena, almost in an unsettling way, just like wiggling with all these snakes and just throws the pumpkin on the floor, smashes it.
Uh-huh. Are you concerned at all about the serpents, the snakes crawling on you?
Revel isn't.
Okay, great. Fair enough. Well, in that case, Talia and Mahera, one benefit of course, of killing a monster is that you may be able to harvest valuable parts of its remains that you can sell for gold back at town. So once you have killed a monster, you can roll to see how much gold it's worth. You roll a number of dice equal to the endurance you rolled against to defeat it, which in this case was 7. And each 6 that you roll is worth 1 gold. So would one of you like to roll 7 dice to see how much gold you're able to harvest from the creature? Do we assume that Mahera has the luckier rolls, or that the 2 6s were the high point and it's all downhill from here?
I was going to say Talia should roll.
Yeah, so it's just /7 or?
/gold 7. 2 gold.
Okay.
All right. Tell us about what parts of the monster are you able to extract to take back to town?
So I guess we just take 1 each. Maybe it's like the solar plexus sort of area. I mean, and the kidneys and the liver and stuff, and yeah, we can take them, and my alchemist can use them to help in weird rituals.
All right. And you're gonna share them equally with Mahera, so 1 gold each.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. And what do you call this monster? So in Trophy Gold, I'm never going to tell you what the monsters are called, and after you kill them, you have the privilege of naming them.
I just thought
What
pumpkin zombie, but
Mahera, what do you think? Pumpkin zombie or something else?
I think there was something in the way that it was an emaciated humanoid that skulk seemed to be a fitting sort of. So I don't know if it's like a thin skulker or something like that, but
Skulker. Yep, Skulker sounds good.
Skulking.
Just
Like
a
a
skulker. All right. So, Parda, do you feel relaxed at all now that things have settled down?
Yeah, I think I'll kind of step out. I wait until people aren't looking at me. And then I just kind of come in from, the wings and, yes, that was, I tried to make it over in time. I was over there on the other side of the patch. What happened over here?
Revel's got 2 hands of snakes that they're just pulling out of their like, look, I've got friends.
that about sums it up.
But Talia will say, yeah, this thing attacked. Did you find something interesting where you were?
Is Richard maybe frozen?
I'm here now.
Oh, okay.
Parda, did you find something interesting where you were over there, or?
No, but this statue has me really intrigued. I'm gonna kind of distract by going and examining the statue.
All right. Is there anything in particular that you're doing by way of examining, or are you just sort of poking around?
Actually, I am going to use my other ritual of Parse, which I will read you what that does. Divine the meaning of any word, writing, sound, sign, or symbol. So I imagine that this statue is symbolic of something.
Yeah. So
I'm going to try to parse that.
All right. I guess it's not really a dangerous situation, so I think that you're able to do that. I guess the symbolic meaning is that this is a deliberately profane misrepresentation of St. Hester. It sort of perverts the traditional harvest symbolism of the saint of fertility and harvests. Replaces the cornucopia with a sword. It's clearly intended to profane the great saint. But actually, that said, you should also make a hunt roll. I should have gotten you to make a hunt roll.
Okay.
I will. One light die for just exploring the world and asking questions about it. And another light die if you have a skill or piece of equipment that would make your hunt easier.
Well, I think that there's 2 ways to go with it. One would be just generically lore, but I also happen to possess a blasphemous book that I might be able to consult.
I think either one works. So that'll be a hunt roll with 2 light die.
All right. Double 4.
Double 4. You encounter something terrible. So take a token.
Okay.
I think that the terrible thing you encounter is, again, you notice movement in the grass. You don't think it's another one of those things. It's not another skulker, but there's definitely something, again, moving towards where the group of you are standing. What do you do?
I'm going to point it out. Like I think it's got me a little bit on edge, and everybody's kind of looking at me, so I don't feel like I can just mask out of this. So I'm gonna kind of like shakily be pointing at the grass as it's. Is it moving toward us?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So Parda points again. Something's moving towards you through the grass. It looks like something much smaller than the skulker, but you can't really tell what it is. It's too small to make out. What do you do, Talia? You're the most proactive.
I'll head in that direction, but I'm not sort of charging. I've just got my sword out and I'm just looking.
Okay, I mean, looking is going to be a hunt roll, I guess. You're exploring the world. One light-colored die just for exploring, and another light die if you have a skill or piece of equipment that would make it easier. Not really. Oh, well, I think the good news is you still don't have any tokens. The bad news is you maybe haven't rolled above a 1 yet, I think. So you do see what it is that's moving through the grass. It's a snake. It's a big one. In fact, you're pretty sure it is the mother of the bundles of snakes in Revel's hands. Unhappy that someone has disturbed its brood. What do you do?
I'll charge and say the snake mom's here and just charge it.
All right. So that's not going to be a combat roll. It's just going to be a risk roll, I think, to take out a snake. So for the risk roll, take one light-colored die if the task is something you're skilled at because of an occupation, background, or training, or you're taking advantage of a piece of equipment. I think that's a no-brainer. You clearly are. Say what you hope will happen. I assume you're hoping to kill the snake.
Yeah, mother. I'm hoping to behead it before it bites me.
Okay. Okay, ask the GM and the other players what could possibly go wrong. So I'll go around. Romy, what could possibly go wrong?
It's a hydra snake.
Oh, wow. Yep. Richard?
Yeah, I think that I think that this snake like secretes a kind of marker hormone that allows other snakes to zero in on people that it sprays.
Nice. Gerald?
No, sorry. I'm just stuck on getting a bit. I gotta pass.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the one. That's where I'm going. I'm sorry to be basic, but yeah, what could go wrong is it just bites you. The simple things are often good. All right. So now I'm going to ask you all if anyone wants to suggest a devil's bargain. So again, just something bad that could happen regardless of whether this succeeds or fails. Let's go back the other way. So, Gerald, do you have a devil's bargain to offer?
No. I mean, I actually think that Richards is great on succeed or fail, although he pitched it as a failure, that there's this like hormone that secretes no matter what. But I don't have anything original. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we can definitely offer that as a devil's bargain. Richard, do you have anything else you want to put on the table?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this isn't the only clutch of eggs, and the presence of all this activity and the mother coming back is causing a bunch of eggs to hatch.
Romy, do you have a devil's bargain?
The baby snakes now see Talia as their mother.
That was what I was going to offer as a devil's bargain. So I have nothing else. Blake, will you accept any of those devil's bargains, or do you just want to roll one light die?
Yeah, maybe I'll be the snake mom. That'd be different.
right.
We'll go with that.
You can, if you want, you can also add a dark die for risking your body or mind.
Nah, not this early.
Yeah.
Not yet.
So just /risk 2. Oh, nice. So a 5. What is a 5? You succeed, but there's some kind of complication. The GM describes the complication, then you describe how you succeed. So I think I am just going to reincorporate something that's come up from the group of players. So you succeed, but the snake has marked you somehow. Whether that was pheromonal or whether that was something more mystical, we will play to find out. But yeah, you are marked in some way by the snake. But now describe how you succeed.
Yeah, I guess I would sidestep, cut the snake in half, but as it was sort of coming at me, it spat this venom stuff, which is like pheromones and that, and then it was going to decide to bite, and that's when I beheaded it. So I got marked by the venom stuff, but not bitten.
Yeah.
And now the little snakes start crawling up my legs and stuff, but not attacking. And they're just like, oh, mommy.
Yeah, they're swarming towards you. The few that were still crawling over Revel are like rapidly making a beeline for the ground to squirm over towards you.
Revel's delighted. They like you. They like you.
Nice. Mahera, what are you doing while all this is going on?
Seeing that Talia has the situation entirely under control, I'm actually, I think I'm really, as a former farmer, I know a little bit about Hester, Saint Hester, and I feel like this sword, and you've returned to it a couple of times, like the sword is, it's replaced the cornucopia. So I'm studying the statue, and I'm trying to figure out, like, if this is the sword. Can I remove the sword? Is the sword pointing? Like something about the sword. So I'm engaging with the statue, trying to deduce something about the sword.
Sure. So it's going to be a hunt roll. So 1 light-colored die for exploring the world, and another light die if you have a skill or piece of equipment that is going to make it easier.
Yeah.
Do you have a skill that you want to use here?
I am looking at my skills, thinking,
Sorry.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that I have a skill that necessarily applies. I do, however, already in my backpack, I have a mallet, and I'm going to be tapping on the statue, trying to see if I can get it to alter or change or hear any resonance or anything like that.
Sure.
So that's 2 hunt 2. Is that how we roll that? Okay.
I think.
We'll find out.
You get a token, but you encounter something terrible. So what you find as you sort of tap around the statue, the sword does not seem to be detachable. It doesn't seem to point to anything that you can really tell. But you realize that the plinth that the statue stands on is hollow. And you're able to sort of work your way to a secret panel in the back that gives access to a little hollow space inside. And there's a little sack of coins in there, worth 2 gold. Do you let the others know that you found 2 gold, or are you going to hold on to that? Or
so far, everybody here, it seems quite honorable. So I am going to share the news. Aha! I found something, kind of, surprise and delight. I'm not greedy by nature, so I'm going to say that I open up the pouch and say that there's 2 gold in here, some coins.
Oh. And how will you distribute them? Because there's no fractions of a gold.
Yes, indeed. We will have to sort that out. I'll hold on to them, and
That's
we
very
can
good
have
of
a
you.
conversation.
All right, but as you do this, as you kind of root around in the back of the plinth, you realise that from up the hill there is more movement in the grass, and you recognise that again a couple of the skulkers are heading in your direction. Maybe not like they're not making a beeline for you or anything. They're doing whatever skulking they like to do, but they're getting closer.
Skulkers skulking ahead. I'm saying.
What do you do?
Well, I stand up and say Skulker skulking ahead, and hoping that some folks in the party, hearing how generous I just was, are going to maybe lend a hand. I don't think that they're close enough that we're going to be fighting right away. Do we want to run is another thought. I don't know the road, but
I mean, they're far enough away that you can definitely just sort of, keep moving and get away from them. They might or may not catch up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and we can pool tokens to well, we have 3 tokens then.
It's true.
It's true.
Well, does the group want to spend 3 tokens to find the road to Hesters Mill?
So it would, instead of sort of rolling for each little thing, it's going to zoom out, and there's like a montage of us searching around stuff. We spend the points, and then we move on to the next part of the adventure.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, in this case, if you spend the tokens, we'll just narrate you finding the road, and then we will move on to the next set. Sometimes achieving the set goal won't be enough to move you on to the next set. Sometimes you would still need to find it, but yeah, in this case, you'll just be heading on.
And if we chose to just kind of head on and save those tokens for later, would we be
So
willing to do that, or just exploring?
Yeah, so you absolutely can just try and you can always resolve the set goal just by actually playing it out if that's what you prefer to do. But obviously the drawback is that every time you make a hunt roll, you risk encountering something terrible. In fact, you run a very large risk of encountering something terrible.
Well, and it seems like we're just drawing more and more attention.
Right.
I'm happy either way. It's up to you folks.
Well, I mean, I'm willing to put my tokens in on that, which would be the lion's share.
So just another thing to bear in mind with the tokens, just like mechanically, generally you're not going to want to accumulate too many because you always run the risk that you roll a 1 and you lose them all. So that's also a consideration. You can cash them in any time if you want to cash in 1 for 1 for gold.
I'm all for this if the generous ones with gold.
Yeah, we don't want to.
Well, I guess it's up to Mahera then.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to fight everything that comes our way. In fact, that is not wise. So yeah, I'm all about spending some tokens, finding the road, trying to move around the skulkers that are skulking.
Yeah, this clearly we're in a nest. We need to get out of here.
All right. So Parda spends 2 and Mahera spends 1 hunt token, and sort of work your way around. You see the ruins of the keep, but it's clear that there's a bunch of the skulkers rummaging around in there, so you just pass it by. And before too long, you do find your way to the road. It's overgrown, but it is easy to follow once you've found it. This is going to put you onto a new set. The set is called The Road to Hesters Mill. And the set goal here is to learn the secret history of Hesters Mill. So obviously, in contrast to the last one, this is a set goal that you could completely ignore. You can progress in the adventure without ever learning the secret history of Hesters Mill if that's what you'd like to do. But that's the set goal. So that's something that you can achieve either by sort of playing it out or by spending tokens. When you find yourselves on the road, you're again at the top of a hill. It's an elevated position, and you can see basically all the significant locations that are within reach from here. You can see what's left of the village of Hesters Mill, which is not very much. There are, a handful of crumbling cottages. There is the mill itself, which is still standing. I think you're probably surprised to see that there is a little campsite not far from the village itself. You didn't really expect to see anyone, actually around here. Certainly not anyone human or humanoid enough to have a campsite. You can also see about half a mile north of the village itself, a lonely little farmhouse that is surprisingly still standing and intact. And south of the village, again, one of the few things that is still fully intact around here are the old gallows from Lord Goldrun's times. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I'll turn around and say, look, should we look at the gallows, the farmhouse, or maybe try and ambush whoever's at that campsite? Any preferences?
Well, I'm taking
Are there any lights
advantage
on in the
of.
farmhouse?
Go ahead, Romy. Go ahead.
Or no, you go.
Oh, I was
only
going to
asking
say.
about lights on in the.
Sorry, I'll just get Richard first.
Yeah, I don't want to take. I don't want to beat this drum all the time, but it makes sense that Parda would, again, with this panoramic view of the countryside, be trying to match this up with the map. If that doesn't, because I don't want to just say that every time it's apropos. It doesn't. You don't have to give me a hunt roll over that, but that is what I'm trying to do.
All right. Well, I mean, you can make a hunt roll for that if you want, but if you feel that that's not really what you're doing,
well, I'm seeing if it corresponds, but I don't want that. Well, I mean, I don't want that to seem it's just my move, but I'll go ahead and visit that well one more time.
All right. So I'll get you to make a hunt roll then. 1 die just for exploring the world, and 1 if you have a skill or piece of equipment that would make your hunt easier.
Yeah, well, I do have lore. Is that relevant?
Sure.
Okay, so that'll be a hunt 2. 5.
So again, you gain a token and you encounter something terrible. I'll come back to what the terrible thing that you encounter is. Just make myself a note that I need to give you something terrible. Sorry, Revel, you were asking something?
Does it look like the farmhouse is occupied at all?
Great question. Go ahead and make a hunt roll. So 1 dice just for asking questions. Do you have a skill or piece of equipment that would make it easier?
I don't think lore has much to do with my perception skills. So no.
All right. So go ahead and just roll 1 light die. 2. So you do not get a hunt token, and you encounter something terrible. I'll just stack these here. Mahera, what are you doing while this is going on? I will come back with some terrible things for the others.
I mean, Talia has just sort of put it out there for all of us as to what we would like to do. And, I just say that the farmhouse reminds me of the farm that I used to have, and barring some other decision, that's where I want to go. And, I'm kind of trying to cajole folks, come on, let's go and stop looking at that map, Parda, and, that kind of thing. That's all that I'm doing right now.
All right. So I think that what you all notice, the terrible thing that Parda and Revel encounter, is that whoever's in that campsite has stepped out of his little tent and is peering up at you all through some sort of telescope or spyglass or something like that. Do all of you take Mahera's suggestion to head to the farmhouse, or what are you thinking?
I'm going to pose dramatically first, since I'm being watched, and then I'll go with the others towards. So, go on, Parda, let's go to the farmhouse.
Yeah, I mean,
Parda.
I'm not really. Oh, sorry. I'm
Go
not
ahead.
really keen on being watched by this guy. So, if moving toward the farmhouse will get us out of that line of sight, that's what I'm for.
Revel, are you also going to head towards the farmhouse? All right. So you head down. I think the farmhouse is to the north of the village itself. The farmhouse is its own set, so you've moved away from the set where the set goal was learning the secret history. You are, of course, welcome to head back to that set later if that's what you decide. The set goal for the farmhouse is to learn the scarecrow ritual. And what you see as you approach the farmhouse, there's a scarecrow that's hanging sentry-like in the cornfield that abuts the farmhouse. There is a porch at the front of the house, a rocking chair that rocks back and forth in the breeze, a jack-o'-lantern, perfectly preserved in wax, and maybe from under the porch you can hear a sound. You think it's the mewling of newborn kittens. Their mother is visible just outside the porch, sort of strutting proudly. And of course you can see up on the porch is the front door of the farmhouse itself. Mahera, you suggested coming here. What are you thinking now that you're here?
Yeah, it looks nice. Shall we go inside?
Everyone wants to head inside, is that right?
I'm going to check out the scarecrow. I'll just be over here.
Yeah,
but
I'd rather scout out the outside area before.
All right.
Revel, do you want to head inside with Mahera, or do you want to scout around outside with the others? Are you muted? Sorry, you were muted there. I didn't catch that.
Sorry. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I head inside. Give the cat a little scritch on the way in.
Nice. All right. Let's see. Okay, so I think we'll start outside. That makes sense to me. So, are the two of you both approaching the scarecrow, or just sort of looking around more generally?
I'm fine with that. I mean, I'm trying to make it out. I'm a city dweller, so like I'm not even 100% sure what this is for.
Yeah,
it seems pretty suspect to me.
So to you, this is just like an effigy that's been crucified outside of farmhouse.
Yeah, it's like Blair Witch.
Amazing. Talia, how are you? What do you think of this scarecrow?
Yeah, I'm going to wander over. I'll prod it with my sword first, make sure it's not one of them skulker things first, and just sort of look around the area, see if I can see tracks. And
yeah, we'll go ahead and make a hunt roll. Do you have a skill or a piece of equipment that would
no. I can put some perfume on the scarecrow. Smell a bit nicer. 2.
You encounter something terrible. Okay. So what you notice before you even get to the scarecrow, As you approach it, you hear a slight thumping sound, like a heartbeat. And the rhythmic thumping gets louder the closer you get to the scarecrow. It is clearly coming from inside the scarecrow's chest. What do you do with that information?
I say, I think this evil thing's alive. I'm going to stab it. Stand back.
All right, I'm all for that. I'm just like, even before that happened, I was pretty disturbed. So,
All right. So you will need to make. I guess this will be a combat. So
Okay.
you draw your sword. The man made of straw and sackcloth lurches back towards you.
Whoops.
Clearly animated. Parda, are you going to participate in the combat, or are
yeah,
you gonna
I am. I'm too,
You know-
and it's not because I'm I want to. It's because I'm too close not to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I was, I assumed that, we were like having a conversation about how this is just a harmless thing just a minute ago, and now, like, I just I don't know why anybody would live out in some saint forsaken place where this kind of stuff happens.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I will come back to the two of you and your combat, but I just want to check in with Mahera and Revel as you head inside. So you first walk up to the porch. Do you stop there, or do you just head straight inside? Like, what's happening?
Revel, should we knock or listen at the door at least? Sound good?
Let's listen. Let's
Okay.
listen, yeah. Signs
So
of
which
life.
of you is going to put your ear up to the door?
I'll go ahead and put my ear up to the door.
All right. Well, make a hunt roll for me.
All right. Okay. Question. Hunt. And I have a hunting skill. Does that increase? I get a little confused.
Yeah.
on the
So
dice
you get.
pools.
That's right. So you get one dice just for exploring the world.
Mhm.
You get a second dice if you have a skill that's relevant to the way
Right.
you're exploring the world or a piece of equipment.
Right.
So hunting probably not relevant to listening at a
Okay.
door.
I wasn't sure if it was listening to my surroundings like a hunter. That's what. But I'll take just the one.
All right.
We'll make the hunting more scoped to animal stuff.
I just think hunting, to me, suggests more outdoorsy situations than.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you think your character spent a lot of time hunting humans in their homes.
No, it's cool.
I'm open to that as an approach.
No, that's certainly not the hunting I imagined for him. All right, cool.
Well, again, happily, you do not have any tokens to lose. But I think that you, at this point from the porch, both of you don't hear anything inside, but you do hear the sound of the scarecrow that is now attacking your friends. And Mahera, I think you have the very strong sense that the scarecrow is interested in you. That the reason that it's fighting your friends is because it wants to come towards you. Does that mean that you do either of you want to go and help fight the scarecrow now that you see that there's a fight about to break out, or
Yeah,
what
that would very much change my mind. I would want to go. Help and hopefully kill the scarecrow. Sorry, Revel. I gotta go back this way.
Revel, what about you?
I head on in.
You're muted. You head on in. Okay, great. So inside, it's pretty dusty and unused, but it's pretty comfortable. It looks like of all the places around here, maybe this would be the safest or most comfortable place that you could spend the night if it comes to that. There's a kitchen and family room downstairs, and there are some stairs leading up. What do you want to do?
I'm definitely looking around all of the usual hidey holes under mattresses, in shoes if there are any, in drawers. I'm looking for trinkets, anything nice and pretty.
All right. Well, go ahead and make a hunt roll. Do you have... Oh, you don't have any relevant skills?
Trickery, rituals.
Yeah, probably
I
not.
think trickery, not quite stealth, and
Yeah, that's all right. So you get a token, and you encounter something terrible. So I think that what you find is that beneath a russet-coloured rug in the family room is a locked trap door. It's locked from above. Like there's a padlock that seems like it's organised to stop the cellar being opened from inside the cellar rather than from outside the cellar.
I'm knocking on the cellar door.
All right. You won't get any answer. Do you want to head down into the cellar?
Not yet. I'm gonna go back to the kitchen. Is there any food around? Can I take a little rotting loaf of bread?
Yeah, I think any food that was in here has well and truly rotted away by now.
All right,
But
so I'm heading back out to the porch.
Okay. Just to watch your friends fight the scarecrow.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
kind
that's
of
nice.
leaning against. Go team!
All right. So, combat roll. Where are we? First of all, each of you who is participating in the combat, say how you're exposing yourself to injury or attack. So Talia, you first.
Well, I'm kind of at the front with my sword, but this seems like it's not real. It's not a real threat. It's just someone's done some magic trickery. It's a bit of a joke, so I'm not really defending myself properly. I'm like, really? I'm being attacked by whatever this is,
Nice. Parda?
Yeah, honestly, Parda is just doesn't really have a solid idea of what she's doing when she's when other people are swinging weapons around. And so just being there, she's bad at reading, where so she could get friendly fire. She could, it could go any number of ways. Just because she doesn't know how to stay out of the way.
Nice. Cool. And Mahera?
I think Mahera is most vulnerable, or their weak point is is this sort of psychic damage feeling. If I feel like it's after me and I don't kill it, that somehow that's my weak point. You know what I'm trying to get at with that?
Yeah. Something a bit traumatic.
Yeah.
So each of you who's participating in the combat needs to roll a weak point. So just, I think that's /weak. All right. And now, each of you, now we roll a pool of 3 dark dice because there are 3 treasure hunters involved in the attack. So who would like to roll 3 dark dice?
How about the person who didn't roll a 1 just now?
Sure.
And I'll let you know the Scarecrow's endurance that you're trying to beat is 7. And so you need the top 2 dice to add up to 7 or more to defeat it. Oh!
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. That is incredible. You're, for all your bad dice rolling, this group is quite the combat machine so far. Yeah, so I'm going to ask each of you how you strike a blow against it. Like, describe the combat for me. So I think starting with Parda.
Yeah, Parda, and I think Parda's kind of survival instincts kick in a little bit. And, just there's a moment when it's like lunging at her and she just like gets a very solid jab with the letter opener right in the center of the body mass.
Yeah, nice. Tears out a little stuffing. Talia, what about you?
I think I'll sort of hack off an arm and a leg.
Nice. And then Mahera, how do you finish it off?
Mahera is, still, I was coming from the porch, so I'm further away and I draw the bow and arrow back and I feel that strange compulsion that it's going to be it or me, and I let loose the arrow and it into the heart.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you again can harvest the body for potential items of value. Not quite sure what you will find inside a scarecrow, but any one of you can roll 7 dice to see how much gold it's worth. So just /gold 7.
I'll do it. Oh, gold. 7.
All right.
2 again.
2 gold. So one thing that you will notice as you sort of rifle through the body is that it does indeed have a tiny but seemingly organic heart that continues to beat after having been pierced by the arrow.
Ew.
What else do you find in the scarecrow that's worth 2 gold?
I think that I'm gonna insert a bunch of backstory that I wouldn't know, but I think
Please.
that the woman who was the farmer at this place had stashed a big chunk of her dowry inside the scarecrow to hide it from her husband, who was going through their money drinking, and so she hid money in the scarecrow.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, that's great. And how are you going to divide up the 2 gold from the scarecrow?
You two just to go 1 each.
All right.
I think when I saw that heart, automaton heart beating thing, I'm like, what in the saints' names is this? Yeah, I'm a bit sort of put out by what's going on here. Revel, you're right.
All good. Found a trap door.
All right. Well, let's take a break here and we'll come back and see if you want to explore the trapdoor or what you might want to do next. So coming back just about 5 minutes past the hour. So I think that was a good suggestion from Mahera. Parda, what do you call the scarecrow? What's the name for that kind of thing?
I think Parda has thrown out a number of names, just in reacting to it. But I think she's gonna call it an effigy.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm interested. Like, is that the first time that Parda's been in a fight? Like, how seasoned a
No.
warrior is Parda?
She's gotten into a couple of scrapes that she's mostly kind of talked and bluffed her way out of. She thinks on her feet pretty well, but yeah, it's like, she's not completely foreign to violence, but like, yeah, that's probably the first time she's actually sunk her knife into something.
Especially something sort of supernatural or
Yeah,
strange like that.
Yeah.
And how does Parda feel about that?
Well, she's actually, I mean, it's like this whole thing is just she had always suspected that, leaving the city was just nothing but, awfulness. And this is just like adding to the lore that's making her like think of just like, oh, it's just a bunch of awful, barbaric, people doing all these unspeakable rituals, and it just it's just the worst.
Not like the speakable rituals that you do yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, Revel, I think that you were leading the others inside to show them the trapdoor that you discovered. Is everyone happy to head on inside and have a look at that? So, Revel, what do you do as you stand over the thrown back rug?
How heavy is it? Is it something that I'd be able to pull up myself?
Yeah, you can just slide back the bolt and throw it open.
And that's what I do. I slide back the bolt and I pull it up like I'm presenting some like big prize.
All right. So it's dark down there. The light illuminates a set of wooden stairs that lead down, but none of you would really be able to see inside. Does anyone have a source of light that they can use?
I've got candles. Yeah, I'm happy to give one to Revel and Mahera if they're happy to carry them. So I've got 2 to look around.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And then, does that mean that they'll be heading down the stairs first?
I don't mind going first as long as one of them's behind me. I see.
Sorry, Remy, what did you say?
Yeah, I think a light on each end might be smart, but Rebel definitely wants to go in first.
Okay.
You want to go first? I'll go behind you with the sword and back you up. That's fine. I'll keep you safe.
Yeah.
All right. Parda, are you going to head down as well, or are you going to just stand watch up here?
I think Parda is initially, I think, Parda doesn't like being, looked at, so she's, and she's gonna like, take this opportunity to look around, and yeah.
All right. Well, let's start with that then. So I'll just get Parda to make a hunt roll as you have a look around the house.
Okay.
Do you have a skill or equipment that would help you with that?
I don't. I mean, I think that. Well, I have a shovel, but and well, dexterity, spontaneity, stealth, and lore. None of them really feel like a good snug fit. So,
all right.
I think I'm rolling 1 die.
All right. Do you want to spend your token before you do that, so you don't risk losing it?
You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna spend that to find something valuable.
Yeah. So, but before you even really get started looking, you do notice that there's a set of fine copper pots and pans in the kitchen that you can sort of load into your backpack. They'll be worth 1 gold.
Okay.
And then go ahead and make your hunt roll.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I got to put spaces in there, don't I? 5.
So you get a token, but you encounter something terrible. All right. So sort of as you look around the kitchen, you are very surprised to see that the effigy is back where it was when you first encountered it, hung like a scarecrow in the middle of the field. Again, appearing at this distance to be
Yeah.
completely inert and innocuous.
All right. Well, I'm gonna close the blinds that I was looking through and just get on with my life.
All right, great plan. So, Revel and the rest of you, as you head down into the cellar, it takes a moment for your eyes to sort of adjust to, even with the candles, it's fairly dark and gloomy. But you see that there is a big pile in the corner of straw and burlap, and there is a partially constructed scarecrow laying on a table at one end of the space. Revel, you were in here first. What do you want to do?
I think I'm going to take it easy, but go over towards the scarecrow and take a look.
All right. Well, make a hunt roll.
She's got rituals skill as well. Yeah, Revel has.
Yeah, rituals and lore.
Yeah, I think that definitely will apply here. So go ahead and make a hunt roll with 2 dice. Nice. So you get a token. Nothing bad even happens.
All right,
a rare treat. So I think what you'll find is it looks to be a page torn out of some sort of notebook or something like that, a journal. Actually, as you look at it, you think it's a page torn out from someone's grimoire, the place that they kept their rituals and notes and things like that. It partially describes a ritual called Scarecrow for the creation of constructs of straw and burlap that will endlessly hunt a named target. In itself, the notes don't seem to be enough for you to learn that ritual, but you think, potentially if you were to find the remainder of the grimoire, then you might be able to learn the ritual that way.
All right.
What do you say to the others about what you found?
I definitely show everybody the page. This is what you guys just messed with.
Don't make one around me, and I'll kind of step back. I'm like, no, I don't like this.
Mahera, how do you react at all?
Actually pretty fascinated now.
Yeah, so I am their fascination is like all well and good, but I'm a little bit curious about what else is in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm maybe not so interested in like the grimoire and whatnot, but I'm definitely interested in sorry, I'm like, is that a corgi? In the room.
Okay. Well, go ahead and make a hunt roll. Is there a skill that you'd be using for this?
Sadly, no.
All right. Well, just roll 1 hunt dice. All right. You encounter something terrible. So, as you look around the room, you don't find anything of value. You don't really see anything else, of nothing else magical or anything like that. But when you look back towards the table, the half-formed scarecrow seems to have moved. You can't quite tell how. It just you're sure that's not the position it was in a moment ago. What do you do?
Yeah, Revel. That thing just moved. I know you're interested in, but did you say anything or read any of the words in any kind of order? Because that just moved. I'm going to take my
Should I
mallet
try?
out of my backpack. Should you try? I don't think you should try. So I have my mallet, held back, and am watching it to see if it moves again.
Yeah.
All right.
My character's going to sort of step back. She's a bit wary. As a player, yeah, go for it. That would be wonderful.
Revel, do you attempt the ritual?
I read off as much of the page as I can.
Okay. Well, this is going to be a risk roll. Let's see. So, when you attempt a risky task, say what you hope will happen. So, what do you hope will happen here?
I hope that I'm going to be this scarecrow's master.
Nice. And now I'll just ask. Yeah, I'll just ask everyone what could possibly go wrong here. So, starting with Blake, any suggestions?
One of us trips and falls down the stairs.
Sure. Richard?
All of their body hair turns into straw.
Wow. Gerald?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly the body hair straw is like the ritual gone awry. But what if it works too well? What if you're its master, but it's like such a literal, explicit interpretation that it's like making a wish with a genie, right? Like you can never get the commands to really do. It's too strict. It's too logical.
All right, and I guess I will be left with the what seemingly most obvious what could go wrong, which is that you create the scarecrow, but it is not your servant and tries to kill you all instead. So, one light die if the task is something you're skilled at. I think you have the skill ritual, so that's clearly one die. Now we'll go around again for any suggestions for devil's bargains here. So things that could happen regardless of whether this succeeds or fails. Gerald, do you want to go first?
I don't have anything right now. Sorry.
All right. Richard?
Well, once again, I think I'm presenting better devil's bargains when we figure out what could go wrong. Yeah, I think that yeah, I'm gonna sit out this one.
All right. Blake, do you have a devil's bargain to propose?
Yep. It sits up and starts making straight for Mahera because it's on the same sort of wavelength that the other scarecrow was. It's like, nope, that's a target, and goes straight for him. Doesn't mean it's successful, but that's what it's trying to do.
Okay. I think that my devil's bargain. Let's see how to phrase this. I think no, that doesn't quite work. I think my devil's bargain is that the residual magic, the residual effect of mastery will, whether or not it works on this scarecrow, will at some point work on a construct or a set of remains that you happen to pass by, and something else will become enraptured by your commands, whether you want that or not. Would you like to take either of the devil's bargains for another light die?
I think Revel's gonna play this one straight. If there's one thing in this world they take seriously, it's rituals.
All right.
So I'm gonna go with the one die.
Yep. So when you make a risk roll to cast a ritual, you have to include a dark die. So it'll be a risk roll with 1 light die and 1 dark die. So that's
How do I
/risk.
roll?
Yep. So /risk and then a space and then 1 space 1. All right. So that's good. That means your ruin does not increase. Your highest die is a 4, which means you succeed, but there's some kind of complication. You do have the option to add a dark die and re-roll if you want to try and improve that to a 6. Would you like to add a dark die and re-roll?
No, this is pretty good.
All right.
I'm pushing my luck.
So I think the complication, I'm just going to draw on what Richard suggested before, is that you have a feeling, there's a strange feeling in your skin as the surface of your skin starts to grow to resemble burlap. So it won't happen immediately, but you are slowly yourself coming to resemble a scarecrow more and more. But you succeed. So this partial scarecrow, its legs are not attached. It's not fully constructed. The stuffing is, hanging loose from its belly, but it's animated now, and it sort of tries to pull itself upright, despite having major parts of its anatomy separated from its trunk.
Does Revel add like Scarecrow to the list of rituals, or?
So not yet. If you want, that's the set goal. So actually learning the ritual, being able to cast it without the page, or without a risk roll, that's going to take either three hunt tokens, or there is a narrative way that could happen, but we're not there yet. How does Mahera react to this scarecrow that is now sort of trying to pull itself upright?
I mean, I don't want to just smash the players. It's like you just did the ritual, but I am, taken aback, and Revel, did you do this? Is this your work? And I'm about to swing. If you say yes, I'll stop my swing, but if you say no, I won't.
It's all good. It's all good. I did this. It's harmless. And I kind of I reach for the scarecrow and try and pull it up to a sitting position. No good here. We're all friends.
I don't trust it.
It reaches for its legs and starts trying to drag them over towards its torso.
Oh.
Do any of you say or call to Parda or anything? Parda's just upstairs, sort of having a look around.
Yeah, I'll say, Parda, there's a scarecrow down here. You want to meet it?
No, thank you. You just hear that yell in the distance.
All right. And is Parda's just sort of hanging out upstairs, trying not to look out the window?
Yeah, definitely. Avoiding that side of the building. And yeah, trying, poking around through everything. Yeah, I'm gonna it feels like I had some luck with it, to some extent with that scarecrow having money inside it. I'm thinking of other places that somebody might stash something.
Okay.
If I were valuables, where would I be? That's how I'm thinking.
Do you want to make another hunt roll?
Yeah. I'm gonna tentatively make the argument that Parda's trying to tap into her spontaneity, skill, and creativity to do this. She's really good at empathizing with hypothetical people and that kind of thing. That's how because I've been trying to think of what spontaneity means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll take that
as skill.
Yeah, I buy it. Go ahead.
So, did I glitch out for a second there, or did everything I said?
Sorry, I heard everything that you said. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally buy that. Go ahead and make your
okay. So roll 2.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, why? What? Oh, sorry. My. Can you tell I don't do a lot of? Why is it? Hang on. Let's try that.
Oh, nice.
There. Oh, wow. Okay.
All right. So you don't encounter anything terrible, and you get a token. If you want, you can spend the token immediately to have found something of value, or you can hold it.
Yeah, I'm immediately going to find something. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so I mean, I think in this case it makes sense. Well, do you want to describe what it is that you find, or would you rather that I do that?
Yeah. This is. I think I like the idea that what Parda is discovering is this like really sad tragedy from like when this place was occupied of like this woman who was having to hide all these things around the house, and this is like yeah, it looks like just some like heirloom pieces of like silver flatware that kind of thing that just clearly that couldn't be used. They can't have nice things.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So the woman of the house hid them away.
All right. Cool. So back down in the basement, Revel, are you going to try and sew the scarecrow together, or what are you thinking at this point?
Absolutely. If I have managed to get this scarecrow sentient, like, this is our new best friend. This is our new mascot.
So as you do this, you realize that there's a part of the ritual that you have not completed. The nature of the ritual is that the scarecrow, once animated, once assembled, will endlessly hunt a named target. And you need to name a target for it to fully come into its own. So do you want to name a target now, or is that something that you want to think about?
I'm going to ask the others, do you have any enemies? Who can we... It would be really funny if we sick this on.
I mean, the thing that comes to mind for me is whether there is maybe someone who's blocking your access to the swirling court. Maybe this would be a discreet way to remove that obstacle without them ever linking it to you.
I have somebody in mind.
Tell us about them.
It's my old mentor. I was
Oh my God.
apprentice.
What's your old mentor's name?
Finn.
Finn?
Fionn.
And why Finn?
I was one of several apprentices, and I was not chosen to take a proper role, and I deserved it.
Nice. So if you take the time to like sew it together, that is going to, take a bit of effort, a bit of energy. If you take the time to do that now, it's probably going to get late, get dark, get to be around like time to bed down for the night, time to set up camp. Are we all happy with doing that, with taking that time and then having having a night. Maybe we'll see if it's a night's rest or not.
Yeah, I don't mind. You said it was a decent farmhouse and it was comfortable and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, there's even beds.
do it here.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll check on my baby snakes as well.
Yeah, I mean they're following you around everywhere. To the extent that you allow it, they're climbing up and down and around your armor.
Yeah, I'll keep them away from the kittens because that's not going to go well.
Yeah. Well, they're going to need feeding at some point.
Yeah. Well, I'll look for mice.
Yeah. All right.
There's got to be
We'll go
some
ahead
here.
and make a hunt roll.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So yeah, you gain a token and you find some mice. You are able to feed the baby snakes. I don't know, they hiss adoringly at you. Is that? I don't know quite what an adoring hiss sounds like, but you do now, Talia. You set a watch for the night? We won't play out the watch. It's not necessary. Hang on, Rich is just reconnecting. Go with me for a second.
With there's like old pots and pans. I'll probably put some of them around the house, so if anyone's approaching, they're more likely to trip over them, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, just taking a minute for Richard to connect. All right. So just while Richard is trying to connect, I'm going to get all of you to make a nightmare roll to see whether the Scarecrow's magic interferes with your dreams in the farmhouse. So each of you just needs to roll one dark die, and if it's equal to or lower than your current ruin, well, then we'll talk about what happens if you roll that. But yeah, so we just need a way for you to roll one dark die.
I already said I was a bit disturbed by these automaton things, so can I just, as a player, choose to fail?
I guess, sure. So Revel and Mahera then, just roll one dice. It's the easiest way. Let's just roll /ruin. I think that'll do it.
So if it meets my ruin?
If it is equal to your ruin, then yes, you will trigger the next part of it. So, Mahera, is yours equal to or lower than your current ruin?
My ruin, no. My ruin is 2, and my rolled a 3.
All right.
3 is greater, yes.
All right. Hang on. I'm just going to try and let Richard in again. Hey.
Okay, so sorry.
No, that's okay.
Tomorrow.
Your timing is great. You can join us in the nightmare roll.
Okay.
So just rolling to see whether the Scarecrow magic interferes with your dreams. So I'll get you to... So you just need to roll a dark dice. So if you just make it /ruin, that will roll one dark dice, but ignore what it tells you about the result.
Okay. 5.
Right. So I think that's going to be okay. That's not going to be equal to or lower than your current ruin, is it?
Right. Mine is 3, so yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Talia and Revel, you have a choice. Either your ruin goes up by 1, or you take the condition the birthing dream. Would you like to increase your ruin by 1, or would you like to take the birthing dream?
I'll be taking the birthing dream.
Yeah, I think I will. Kind of fits with
Alright.
the becoming a snake mom and stuff.
All right. So you both have a dream. You both have very similar dreams, where you're laying on a bed of sunflowers. Your belly is swollen with child. You are surrounded by beaming loved ones and onlookers. And I'm going to ask each of you separately. I'll start with Revel. Tell everyone at the table or at the StreamYard what your treasure hunter fears the most.
Not being successful. Failing.
Interesting. And what about Talia?
Probably getting maimed, like injured arms in combat.
Okay. That is interesting. All right. So every other player and the GM, I think for this one, like we won't do it for both of you, but each of us will offer one of the two of you one detail about what it looks like when you give birth to your fear in the dream. So you birth your greatest fear. Richard, I'll start with you. Can we have one detail about what it looks for one of the two of them, or both of you have ideas, when they
Okay,
give birth to their fears?
yeah. Remind me what their fears were. Remind me what your fears were.
So Revel's was sort of failure, basically, and
Uh-huh.
Talia's was being maimed and specifically injuries to their arms, to her arms.
Okay. Well, I think that that Revel. Um. Yeah, it's actually like a failure of that process.
Oops. Are you frozen? Oh no. All right. Well, hopefully we'll come back to Richard. Gerald, what about you?
For either of them, I think Talia, you have some noticeable, maybe scars from some past scrapes, I would imagine, on your arms
You're
or
back.
hands. So you would recognize birthing your own limbs as they were, emerging. You would recognize the scars, and that would be part of the nightmare.
Sorry, Richard, you were cut off in the middle before, but
Yeah, don't worry about it. It sounds like you moved on. I don't want to.
well, no, we would love to hear your detail.
Oh, honestly, I got frustrated and it left my head. So go ahead and move on. I'm not even sure what it was anymore.
So, Revel, I think that what you see in this dream, surrounded by friends and loved ones, is that you give birth one by one to each and every member of the swirling court, and first one by one, then as a group, they just laugh at you. They laugh at you relentlessly for your failure, your inadequacy before the court, and the fact that you will never ever be admitted to their ranks. You wake up the next morning, or all of you wake the next morning after these somewhat disturbing dreams. You are... Sorry, go on.
I think Talia will go outside and do some sword practice and stuff to try and clear her head and get back in the game, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if Parda had told you that the scarecrow was back, but you certainly observe that as you head outside.
I'll keep an eye on it.
I think maybe this is a good time because we're relatively close to finishing up time to stop for today, and we'll move on to another set probably in our next session. But I would love to finish up with just a round of stars and wishes. So just a star being something that you appreciated or enjoyed in the session, and a wish being something that you hope for or are looking forward to in the next session. And I'll just go left to right across the character keeper for this. So starting with Gerald.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think stars all around for people leaning into and embracing their characters right out of the gate. I think, there's some specific, some specific things that I jotted down just in terms of like, some people's, like the pumpkin distraction and, just some of that initial stuff I think was really great. And Shane, I loved your some of the complications that you've given us. I think have been really evocative, and I don't know what it is about the resonances, but we've got a lot. Like we have got a lot of that pumpkin stuff happening. So I'm really enjoying the pumpkin theming. So the big star for that. Wishes, I don't think that I have any wishes yet, other than maybe, I think we're getting there. But, I'd love to have some more kind of party conversation dynamics, kind of working the social aspect a little bit more amongst us. And I think maybe that just comes out of Hearthfire and other things that you already have planned. But I think that's a stars and wishes for me.
Cool. I think Richard next.
Okay. It's great. I actually haven't found a Gauntlet game that fired for a couple of months, so it's great to be back. So I'm just really super excited because I love playing with Gauntlet people. And so, stars to everybody for being what you are, because I have 2 other games that are fun, but not this fun. That's my main thing. But I really I can tell that everyone's got a concept of their character, and I love the way characters bounce off each other. My favorite character of all time was a Brindlewood Bay character. So. And apologies in advance. My character is selfish and venal, and that's I know that's the game we're playing, but I'm just kind of saying I'm going to lean into that a little bit. So, yeah. So that's and opportunities to do well. I love the moments where I'm contributing in ways that are out of character, the devil's bargains, that kind of stuff. I think you can tell, I like to riff on that stuff. It's kind of the most fun part of this style of game. And so I hope you're open to my weird ideas.
Absolutely. Blake.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a start to the setting. I'm enjoying it being, in the country or rural with, pumpkins and snakes and out in it's not deep in the wilderness, but it's kind of in the countryside. So that's good. It doesn't get used as much. Like Parda is a bit of a fish out of water, and that's cool because it's boring if we're all, ready adventurers in the zone sort of thing. So that's a good contrast. I'm so glad someone chose to do something with a pumpkin, because I'm like, yeah, it's just something regular and mundane that you see every day, but you can see it being an ongoing theme in the story, which is great. Wishes. Just more of the same. It's going well. It's a good start.
Cool. And Remy.
I have no frame of reference, so this exceeded any expectations I could have had, and thank you all for making
No problem.
feel so comfortable and giving me that space. it was great. It's been so much fun. I absolutely love the mechanic of being able to contribute and poke around behind the curtain a little bit. So I'm really excited to do more of that. And as far as wishes, I think it'll come more as we all get to know each other, but definitely speaking to each other in character rather than just at each other. And
Cool.
really getting into that like full immersion.
All right. Thanks very much, everyone. Stars from me. I really like everyone's. Oh no. Oh well. We lost Richard for this end bit. I loved everyone's characters. It was great to get to know you a little bit, and yeah, I am excited to make space for you all to interact a little more when you're not in the immediate process of encountering something terrible. In particular, staff for Romy, that I thought you did a great job jumping into your first Gauntlet game. It's great to have you part of the community, and I hope we'll get to play a whole lot more together. That's it from me. I'm going to end the recording now.
Back just in time.
Yeah, it's great timing.